Before the first kingdom rose, before the first star lit the heavens, there was one angel above all others, radiant beyond imagination. His name was Lucifer, the light-bearer, guardian of the throne, the closest to the very heart of God. He was beauty without equal, wisdom without limit, music that bound the universe together. To see him was to witness living light. To hear him was to feel joy and peace so deep it hurt. He was the crown of heaven. Yet perfection, when turned inward, becomes dangerous. Admiration became envy. Envy became pride, and pride birthed rebellion that shook eternity. In the silence of his perfect mind, a thought appeared. This light I reflect is as bright as the source, perhaps brighter. With honeyed words he spread doubt. Why serve when you can rule? Why bow when you can rise? A third of heaven listened. The greatest servant of God had become heaven's first liar. Then came the clash. Brother against brother, light against light. Michael raised his sword of golden fire. Lucifer, clothed in pride, lifted his blade of shadow. Heaven trembled. Songs of praise became cries of anguish. But no one can overthrow the Almighty. The morning star was cast into darkness, from light into shadow, from guardian into adversary. The first betrayal, the first war, the first fall. This is the story of Lucifer, the celestial war for the throne of God. Imagine being so perfect that other angels could not look at you directly. That was Lucifer. He wasn't just an angel. He was the angel, the golden standard. God had created thousands, perhaps millions of angels. Each had a role. Some carried messages across newly born galaxies. Others guarded sacred places the human mind cannot conceive. But to Lucifer, God gave the most important task of all. He was the anointed cherub, the personal guardian of God's throne. None came closer. None. Think for a moment. What would it feel like to be that close to pure power, to be the confidant of the mind that created everything? It was not only his position that made him great, it was his very essence. His beauty was a force of nature, a living work of art that took the breath away from beings who did not even need to breathe.
When he passed, light itself seemed to bow. He was perfect, painfully perfect.
His body was covered in 9 precious stones that do not exist on earth. Each one caught the light of God and returned it in colors that made rainbows seem gray. His wings were not of feathers, but of a cold fire that burned without consuming. When he walked, light followed him like a loyal dog. Perfect. That is the only word that comes close. 0 flaws, 0 defects, 0 weakness, or so everyone thought. But his greatest gift, the one that defined his very existence, was music. In heaven, music is not mere sound. It is the language of creation, the mathematics of the universe, and Lucifer was its master.
We created harmonies, but he was the harmony. The whole universe sang through him.
When Lucifer sang, oh, how he sang, heaven itself stopped to listen. His voice was not merely beautiful, it was alive. It could make you feel things you didn't know existed. A joy so intense it hurt, a peace so deep you could drown in it. Other angels forgot what they were doing and simply listened, carried away by a melody that seemed to pour from the very heart of God. He didn't just perform the celestial symphony. He composed it in real time. Each note was a new creation, each silence a pause heavy with power. And his wisdom was as vast as his beauty. He understood the secrets of the stars, the fabric of time, the nature of light and shadow. The other great archangels, mighty in their own domains, came to him for counsel. Michael, the great warrior, could lead armies, but it was Lucifer who understood the strategy of the cosmos. Raphael could heal, but it was Lucifer who understood the anatomy of the spirit.
No one came closer to the throne. He was the guardian of the glory, the first witness of the light.
He was the closest, the brightest, the most beloved. He stood at the pinnacle of a perfect existence, at the center of unconditional love. But perfection, when it stares at itself too long in the mirror, can begin to poison. Lucifer began to notice things, how other angels bowed when he passed, how they whispered his name in awe, how even Michael, prince of the heavenly armies, stepped aside when he approached. He saw his own reflection in the crystal sea before God's throne, and the light it returned was blinding. He had everything a created being could desire: beauty that could blind, power that could bend, music that could command. But he had to use it all to serve another, to worship another. He was the greatest servant in heaven, but still a servant. And one day, as he gazed upon his own brilliance, a thought appeared. A thought so dangerous, so impossible, that there was no word for it. It was born in the silence of his perfect mind, a tiny dissonance in the universal symphony.
This light I reflect is as bright as the source, perhaps brighter.
It was only a moment, a fleeting thought, but it was enough. The first seed of pride had been planted in the virgin soil of heaven. For the first time in eternity, the most perfect being in the universe looked at himself and thought the glory he reflected was his own. The light-bearer had begun, unknowingly, to fall in love with his own shadow. And in that self-love, the universe found its first enemy. Lucifer stood before the throne of God as always. His light was the first and last reflection of divine glory. But this time was different. God had summoned all the angels. Millions of them, from the blazing seraphim to the humblest messengers, filled the heavenly halls. The very air vibrated with silent anticipation. What could be so important as to require the presence of all creation? A hushed stillness reigned, the kind that only preceded a declaration of cosmic magnitude. Then God spoke. His voice was not a sound, but an experience that resonated in the very essence of every angel, a truth felt more than heard.
Behold, my image. In them I have placed my breath. You shall love them and serve them.
I will create something new. The angels bowed, their minds burning with curiosity. New? What could be better than heaven? What could be more perfect than themselves? I will make humans. I will make them in my own image. Wait. In the image of God. The angels looked at one another, a silent murmur of confusion rippling through the legions. They had not been made in God's image. They were servants, messengers, warriors, reflections of his power, but not copies of his essence. But these new creatures, humans, would resemble God, think like God, create like God. They would be fragile, finite, but they would carry the Creator's signature at their very core. Confusion spread among the legions. Some felt awe at the audacity of the plan. Others, a strange unease, a sense that the eternal order they knew was about to change forever.
Serve the fragile. I don't understand, but it is his will.
But God was not finished. The next words would not merely bring confusion, they would split heaven in two. One day, my own son will become one of them. He will be born as a human child. And through him, they will rule over all things. Even the angels will serve them. The words struck Lucifer like a whip of fire. Serve them. Them. Those creatures that did not yet exist. Things made of dirt and breath. He, the light-bearer, the guardian of the throne, was to bow before clay. The other angels began to sing, a burst of praise celebrating the wisdom and incomprehensible mystery of God's plan. But Lucifer froze. His mind screamed, "No, no, 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 no." He was the anointed cherub. He was the morning star. He was perfect. Look at him, covered in jewels, wrapped in light, with a voice like thunder mixed with honey. And God wanted him to be the caretaker of puppets made of dust.
Observe that? A creature that is born, bleeds, and dies? It is an insult to our nature, to my nature.
Something inside him shattered. It broke for real, like a perfect crystal vessel smashed against stone. For the first time in eternity, Lucifer felt something new, something hot, ugly, and powerful. It began in his chest like a tiny flame, an ember of indignation. Then it grew, fed by every note of the angel's song, and it grew until he felt he would explode. It was an emotion for which he had no name because it had never existed before. Pride. The feeling coursed through him like poison in the veins. And it felt good. Really good. As if he had been asleep his whole existence and had just awakened to a deeper truth. Why should he serve anyone? Why couldn't others serve him? He was beautiful enough, powerful enough, wise enough. He looked at the angels singing with blind joy and thought, idiots. They're applauding their own slavery. Their loyalty no longer seemed like a virtue, but a weakness. Then came the thought that damned him, the thought that would change everything. I could rule heaven better than God. Not I want to help, not I want to serve better, but I could be God. The idea was so blasphemous it should have consumed him, but instead it filled him with electrifying energy. He saw a universe redesigned in his image, ordered, efficient, ruled by the logic of perfection, not the whim of love for lesser beings.
No, the order is wrong. The perfect must not serve the imperfect. Never.
That was when the poison truly took hold. Stronger with each second, spreading with each moment. Like a drop of ink in pure water, swirling, spreading, staining everything it touched. Pride became ambition. Ambition became plan. Lucifer smiled at the other angels, a perfect smile that never reached his eyes. He sang with them, his voice brighter than ever, but now it was a performance. He pretended to celebrate God's plan, while inside his fevered mind he was already plotting its destruction. Already planning, already conspiring, already falling. The perfect angel had become heaven's first liar. After God's announcement, Lucifer did not show his anger. He did not reveal his wounded pride. He returned to his post beside the throne, more radiant and dutiful than ever. His smile was flawless, his music sublime. But it was a performance. Behind his eyes of light, a cold and calculating mind was designing the boldest plan in history, a coup d'etat in paradise. His strategy was flawless. He did not begin with the mighty archangels. Too risky. They were loyal, too close to the source. He began with the forgotten ones, the angels who swept stardust from the heavenly halls. those who stood guard at portals no one ever crossed, the ones buried in heaven's vast bureaucracy, whose names no one bothered to learn. It was to them he went first. He approached them not as the morning star, but as a friend, a confidant. He learned their names. He asked about their tasks, and then he planted the seed.
He created you for a purpose, and then he forgot you. Don't you deserve a destiny more glorious than the one he assigned you?
7 words. A little attention, a little flattery, a small lie mixed with truth. Like poison in honey, sweet enough to swallow, deadly enough to kill loyalty. The whisper spread like wildfire. Lucifer never said, "Rebel." He only asked questions. If God is love, why does he demand constant worship? If we have free will, why can't we use it to choose our own destiny? What is he hiding behind the light of his throne? Soon, angels began to gather in secret in dark corners of a dimension that should have had none. They whispered, sharing their new doubts, their new ambitions. Lucifer's idea was contagious. He wasn't selling treason. He was selling self-realization. He promised they were not just cogs in God's great machine, but gods in waiting.
He's right. Why be a servant in heaven when you can be a king in your own kingdom?
Michael was the first to notice. The great warrior, whose mind was attuned to heaven's harmony, began to sense dissonance. He saw groups of angels scattering when he approached. He overheard conversations stopping mid-sentence. He felt a tension in the air, like the stillness before a storm. Heaven, once a place of joy and unity, now held secrets.
There are whispers in the choirs, Gabriel. The harmony is broken. I feel a dissonance, a lie.
Michael and Gabriel tried to warn others, but Lucifer's poison had already done its work. When the loyal questioned the dissenters, the answer was always the same, an answer Lucifer himself had given them. Of course they say that. They're God's favorites. They just want to keep us down. He had created a narrative of us versus them, the oldest and most effective tool of any revolutionary. The fracture in paradise was widening, turning into an abyss. Then Lucifer grew bolder. His whispers became promises. To the warriors, he promised greater battles. To the builders, worlds of their own to design. To the musicians, symphonies that would outshine God's creation. He promised thrones, kingdoms, worship. He promised everything God kept for himself. The rebellion was no longer just an idea. It was a movement with a charismatic leader and a growing army. But in the silence of his own mind, Lucifer knew the truth. It was never about their freedom. It was never about them. They were only pawns in his game, tools to reach his true goal. His ambition was not simply to create a new kingdom, it was to seize the one that already existed.
This isn't about them. It's about order, my order. A universe ruled by beauty and strength, not by affection for clay.
The moment had come. With a third of the heavenly hosts behind him, a legion of light now stained by the shadow of ambition, Lucifer marched toward the throne of God, not to worship, to demand. Heaven's peace shattered like glass. The silence that fell was not reverence, but horror. Every loyal angel stopped singing. Every movement froze. All eyes turned toward the rebel procession. It was an impossible sight, the most glorious angel, the light-bearer, walking toward his creator not as a servant, but as a conqueror. His face was a mask of beauty and determination. His armor, forged with secrets he himself had unearthed, gleamed with a cold, defiant light. Behind him, his army was a sea of divided faces, some burning with the same pride as their leader, others filled with a terrified doubt they could no longer suppress. They had crossed the point of no return. The universe's first civil war was about to erupt. Before them, the army of God assembled. They did not move with the rebels' fury, but with solemn sorrow and steel resolve. Michael, the great archangel, stepped forward. He wore no crown, only the pure light of his loyalty. He looked at Lucifer, and for an instant, the cosmos held its breath. It was not just two armies. It was two brothers, two ideas, two destinies about to collide. Pride against duty, ambition against love. Lucifer raised his sword, a blade forged from the darkness of the first selfish thought, and his voice thundered across heaven.
For our own destiny. For a throne not borrowed.
His cry was the spark that ignited the universe. His army roared in response, a discordant sound that wounded heaven's harmony. But Michael's reply was stronger. It was not a cry of fury, but a declaration of truth. He raised his own sword, a blade of pure golden light, and his voice, heavy with sorrow yet unbreakable, became the banner of the loyal.
For the Creator, there is no throne but His.
And then they clashed. Light against light. Heaven, which had only ever known creation, now knew destruction. The war was terrible and beautiful. Angels who had once sung together now sought to destroy one another. Swords of golden light crashed against shields of silvery shadow. Wings that once danced in celestial choirs were now used as hammers and battering rams. The sound was unbearable, as though a million stars screamed at once. Heaven was not only at war, its heart was breaking. Every strike was a betrayal, every block a memory of lost friendship. Angels did not bleed blood, but light. When a rebel fell, his light hissed out, leaving a void in heaven's fabric. When a loyal was wounded, his light flickered, but his brothers surrounded him, sharing their own energy to keep him fighting. It was a battle of wills as much as power, the rebels' cold fury against the burning loyalty of God's army.
Brother, no! What have you done?
In the chaos, a loyal angel found himself face to face with his best friend, eyes now filled with the madness of rebellion. For a moment, he hesitated, unable to raise his sword, and in that hesitation, his friend struck him down. Betrayal was the sharpest weapon on the battlefield. At the center of it all, like the eye of the storm, was the duel that would decide the universe's fate. Lucifer against Michael. It was no mere fight, it was a dance of opposites. Lucifer fought with lethal grace, every movement a work of art, his beauty untouched even in his fury. His pride gave him terrible power, an energy that seemed endless. Michael, on the other hand, fought with brute, righteous strength. There was no artistry in his movements, only purpose. Every blow was a defense of his creator's honor. Every block was an unmovable wall of faith. They clashed again and again, each collision sending shockwaves that shook galaxies.
In his eyes I no longer saw my brother. I saw only the flame of a throne that was not his.
Michael searched Lucifer's face for a trace of the friend he had known, the leader he had once admired. But he found nothing. The being before him was hollow, consumed by a single idea: himself. Pride had burned away everything else. And with that painful realization, Michael knew there could be no reconciliation. There could only be victory or annihilation. But no one can defeat God, not even close. The rebel's strength, born of selfishness, began to falter. The loyal's strength, fueled by the infinite source of God's light, only grew stronger. Rebels fell, one by one, their light, once radiant, dimmed, corrupted, twisted into a grotesque parody of what it had been. And Lucifer, the great strategist, the perfect being, ended on his knees. Defeated, his sword of shadow shattered at his feet, his once perfect face now twisted with the rage of defeat. Heaven was silent once more. But this time, it was the heavy silence of loss and victory. The first war had ended. The first heart had been broken. Lucifer, the great strategist, the perfect being, was on his knees, defeated. His sword of shadow lay shattered at his feet, and his face, once the definition of beauty, was now twisted into the ugly mask of rage. Michael approached, not in triumph, but in deep sorrow. He looked upon the legion of fallen rebels, their lights flickering and dying, and then at his brother, the fallen star. The war was over, but the sentence was yet to come. From the throne, the voice of God resounded, not with the fury of a conqueror, but with the solemn finality of a universal law. It was not a shouted condemnation, but a declared truth, a realignment of the cosmos. Each word was at once an act of creation and destruction, establishing a new reality.
You who were light shall now know only darkness. Out of my sight.
There was no debate, no trial. The sentence was the natural consequence of his choice. And then the fall began. It was not a simple act of being thrown down. It was a violent expulsion from the very fabric of heavenly reality. The crystal floor beneath Lucifer opened, not into space, but into an abyss of nothingness, a dimension of darkness God had kept sealed since before time began. It was a void, an absence of light, of sound, of life, the perfect fate for the one who had rejected the source of all these things. As he fell, a legion of loyal angels watched from the edge of the abyss. Their faces showed no joy, but profound grief, a cosmic sadness for the loss of their brother, the first and greatest tragedy of heaven. They did not see an enemy fall, but a broken promise, a glory that would never return.
The morning star has been extinguished forever.
Lucifer did not fall in silence. He did not fall in repentance. He fell with a cry of defiant fury, a promise that his will would not be broken, even if his home had been taken from him. His pride, the very force that had led him into rebellion, was now the only fuel he had left. It was a cry that resounded in the void, an echo of pure arrogance that defied the nothingness itself.
Even in the abyss, my will is mine. I will reign.
As he fell, his glorious form became corrupted. The divine light that composed him was torn away, stripped layer by layer like a garment. His wings of white fire burned, not with an external flame, but with the black fire of his own hatred, becoming appendages of shadow and bone. His beauty did not vanish, but twisted, sharpened, becoming terrible and seductive. His name, Lucifer, the light-bearer, was burned from his essence and replaced with a new one, a title earned in defeat: Satan, the adversary. His fall lasted both an instant and an eternity. At last, he pierced through the final veil and landed, not in the fire of hell, for hell did not yet exist, but on earth. The impact was not of a body, but of an idea, of a will. The ground itself groaned when his presence touched it for the first time. Flowers withered, the air grew cold, and an imperceptible shadow passed over the face of the world. The young and perfect earth, the cause of his fall, was now his prison and his new battlefield. He rose, not on a mountain peak, but in the shadow of a garden, the Garden of Eden. From a distance, he could see the pure light that emanated from it, a light that now burned him. And within, he saw the creatures for whom he had lost everything, Adam and Eve. They walked in innocence, naked and unashamed, speaking with God as if he were a friend. They were fragile, naive, made of dust, and they were loved. In that moment, Satan's pride hardened into purpose. His pride became eternal hatred. His ambition to rule transformed into a thirst to corrupt. If he could not have heaven, he would ensure these creatures would never inherit it. If he had been cast from the light, he would drag them down with him into the darkness. He became the serpent, the voice in the shadows, the whisper of doubt. The story of the light-bearer had ended, and the legend of the adversary had just begun.
Look at them. They walk in his light, ignorant of the power they reject. He gave them a garden. I will offer them a kingdom. He gave them obedience. I will offer them knowledge. He gave them life. I will teach them the sweet taste of freedom and the price it carries. The war is not over. It has only changed its battlefield. And here, in the heart of his precious creation, I will win.
The war for heaven's throne was only the beginning. If this story moved you, share it, let others see it, and join us by subscribing for more. Explore our other documentaries, Journeys into Enoch, Noah, Revelation, and more mysteries of the Scriptures, each revealing hidden battles and eternal truths. Like, share, and subscribe, and continue the journey with us.